watch the show Cops. I watched it over the internet, and I have to admit, I watched several episodes because it was pretty addictive. It was pretty much an adrenaline rush and rest over and over and over, because you see they're all guilty. You see people who are, you see these chases, or you see people who are just doing something, and for whatever reason, you're almost like sniffing around with the camera, not as the cop, because you're separated both but because of the camera, you're separated distance enough that it feels safe, but you can really like get in there and sniff in and see, what's wrong with this person. And there's something wrong with everybody. You know you're going to find it because everybody on the show is guilty. So you're sniffing around for, what's out of place in this scene, what's wrong, what's going to happen, because a lot of times, like it'll just be somebody sitting in the parking lot and the cops decide to roll up on them. Well, they must be doing something wrong. Or, a lady standing in front of an apartment building at 2 o'clock in the morning. Well, she must be there doing something wrong. Or, and so you get used to seeing certain kinds of people. And let's face it, they're all poor. You look at the neighborhood, they go, cops coast to coast. It's basically cops getting poor people from coast to coast. And the amount of time spent on petty drug dealers, and as much as we can look at it and it feels justified because it's on there, they're illegal, they're doing something illegal, and look at them, they even try and get away, so I look at this and it's on Fox, so of course as soon as they have the handcuffs on them, then the adrenaline slows down, you get your little rush, like, oh, there you are. Yeah, they help you into the car, the cops are nice. Oh, just slide in, you're like, move your hands, all this crap. And it's like, and so you feel, it just feels natural, nice. Cops aren't mean, and they're not discriminatory. It's that those people are doing something wrong and doing something bad. And sure, by the laws of the land, those people are doing something wrong, doing something bad. The problem I have with it is that it's on Fox, and so if you look at it in the constellation of Fox News, I think you also get to see something else about how irrational something like Cops is, because it's propaganda and it inundates you into a certain worldview. Frankly, certain kinds of people who live in certain ways and places, those people, they're other. They do bad things. They're criminals. If you see them on the street, if you see them in a class with your kids, if they come to your job and apply, if they come to your place of business and you don't feel like having to deal with them, if they want some goods and services from you and you don't want to deal with that person, they've probably done something wrong anyway. So much so that I don't want you standing in front of my business. You can't loiter here. Now, you can stand anywhere you want to if you're a man wearing a nice suit and have a briefcase. Shit, you can stand in front of Kroger's and have a Coke. But if you a man and you have on some dirty jeans and a torn T-shirt and you look scruffy, you can't stand in front of you can't go in Kroger and buy no Coke and stand there and think that the police won't tell you to come get off private property, as if the police had the right to tell you to get off private property. But they bully you, and this is the relationship that poor people have to police. Let me just make sure I'm still recording here. The relationship that I think poor people have to police, and that you see it, this voyeurism, this peering over the camera, this desire to peek in, to know, this curiosity, they're exotic, those other beings. Even the people who watch that show, whose lives are reflected in that show, start to see themselves through that gaze, as if they are the other. They are the one who's being treated. They're the one who's being handled. They don't have any decisions. Everything they do is wrong, and they prey upon people and predators upon their communities and society. That they're non-voters, that they're disenfranchised. I mean, these are all the stories that you get through the kinds of news on Fox, where they're as irrational in the Christian fundamentalism, where you see it in all these pockets of life and all these areas of discourse. It's very single thread. And I would even say the commercial hip hop. If all the niggas are thugs and pimps, then all the bitches are just hoes and bitches. They're the ones the cops are after. We can look at them; they're pleasing, and I would say the cops and 50 Cent, it's the same It resonates similarly in our culture. It says that it convinces us that there is an underclass, that there should be an underclass, that there should be an underbelly to our society, because look at what they do. If they get out, if any other arm of government engages with them other than the cops, like that's their representative of the state, the cops. No, not the DMV, no, their lives are dictated through, oh, he got papers, he's on papers. You know what that means? That kind of stuff. Like that your interaction, your engagement with the state is everything to do with cops. Now on the other shows on Fox, you'll see people who are dealing with government attacking. Let's face it, the Obama attacking, how it's coded racism, that very neatly coded racism. The cops is the very neatly coded racism too. It's not just about race. It is about poor people trying to get by, and that is always racialized in our nation. There's where you get cops. So it's always been a disturbing show. I do not think that they should pretend that, all victims are innocent until considered otherwise. They're not innocent considered otherwise. They are on cops paraded around for our viewing pleasure, and they're told that they are so I was just saying that the thugs, the pimps, be they on cops, be they on MTV, they're selling the same line, and it is very, very disturbing. They say that all these victims are innocent until proven guilty, but of course, you're watching a show that is edited. You're not really aware of that because it's one of the earliest reality shows where it's almost as if they take you on your dad's job for a day. And so you get to see this very it's reminiscent of apartheid. And I'm not saying anything about, well, those people are, I'm not debating whether or not those people are guilty or not. And you see that this is often the kind of reductionist discussion that we have is, well, if they're guilty, they ought to be shown, because those shows convince us to believe that they're guilty and that they deserve it. And that if we stay in line, then everything will be okay. We will never have to face those situations. I knock on wood, even if it's just fake bamboo, that I've not been in those kinds of situations. But I also realize how close I mean. I look in the newspapers and I see other images of people who look like me, and the rate at which we're dying at the hands of the police is also undeniable. And so when I'm behind the wheel, be it going to the mall, going to work, going to school, I'm also aware of the value of my life on the road. This is the climate. This is also another aspect of when you watch a movie like Crash. We all live around this, cops. So I think if you watch Cops, maybe you should just look at Crash a couple of times and remind you that there's a larger narrative around these little reality shows.